Hi everyone, welcome to the Muster Drill. I'm Scott, and picking the best cabin when booking a cruise is not always an easy thing to do. Hi everyone, welcome back. So, as I mentioned in my opening, it is not always easy to pick the best cabin on a cruise ship. But before I talk about anything else today, I wanted to mention how interesting the terms stateroom and cabin are. Now, for me, I use them both interchangeably, sometimes even in the same sentence. I discovered that the term stateroom was typically used in the early days to refer to the higher end or nicer cabins. So I guess from their perspective, even an interior guest cabin is nicer than a crew cabin. So they decided to refer to all cabins as staterooms. But I'm curious, what do you call it? Do you call it staterooms? Do you call it cabin? Or do you use both terms to refer to the rooms on a cruise ship? Leave me a comment below. So picking a cabin on a cruise ship can be a difficult process. Whether you spend a lot of time researching every aspect of your vacation, or you're somebody who just clicks an available room and goes, in my opinion, you should definitely spend a little bit of time trying to find that perfect cabin. And if you're a first-time cruiser or even an inexperienced cruiser, you may not have figured out what absolutely works best for you. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about some considerations when you're picking your cabin on a cruise ship. I wanted to start off by saying, obviously, the earlier you book, the more options and the more availability you tend to have. But so many people end up booking a cruise much closer to the time that it sails. I know for me, I don't like to book cruises far out. I like to be a little bit more spontaneous. And no matter when you book your cruise, I think the one universal thing that everyone wants to avoid is noise. But the way cruise ships are laid out, it can be almost impossible to avoid noise. But some of the main things you want to consider is not picking a cabin under or above a public area. Now, when I was new to Carnival, I learned the hard way by booking a balcony cabin on deck 6 directly above the band stage in the casino. It was so loud in our cabin every single night. My wife never missed an opportunity to remind me that I was the one that picked that cabin. A few other things to consider when thinking about noise is you don't want to book cabins that are close to the elevators. You tend to have a lot more through traffic there, and there's people in the halls. It never ceases to amaze me how many people will stand out in a hallway really super early in the morning and have really loud conversations with everybody. And I don't know about their room, but my room, it seems like the doors or the walls are always super thin, and I can hear those people like I'm the one in the hallway they're having the conversation with. I always recommend people use the deck plans that the cruise lines have on their websites, and you can sometimes find on third-party sites as well, to try to plan where you should pick a cabin based on what's available. Now, one of the things that the deck plans do not typically show are the crew access doors. And sometimes the room service galleys and stuff like that are located in in random places in different hallways on cabin decks. And those can tend to be very noisy because the crew obviously work 24 hours a day, different shifts, and they're coming and going in and out of those doors. And if your cabin is located right across from one of those doors, it's going to be noisy 24/7. You can do some research and maybe ask some questions on Facebook or Cruise Critic or some other place where, there are a lot of cruisers gathered together to try to help you figure that out. But that's definitely one thing to consider that maybe a lot of people don't think about. Now, I also wanted to mention that the deck plans can be a little tricky. When I was booking our cruise to Cuba on Royal Caribbean's Empress of the Seas, I saw these cabins near the back of the ship that looked like they would be bigger because in the deck plan they were squared off, and for some reason, even though I'm an experienced cruiser, I thought that cabin would be bigger. Not only was it not bigger, but whenever the engines were being used, whether that be porting or if we were accelerating, The room vibrated so badly, I thought we were gonna fall out of bed. Now, recently I found this item on Amazon that I have found to work really well for me to not only take care of the noise, but also possibly some of the light, depending on what kind of cabin you're in. Now, I love an interior cabin's darkness and stuff definitely makes it easier to sleep. But a lot of people really like the light coming in from a window or a porthole or even a balcony door. This is a must-have item for me now when I go on cruises. I really love this thing so much. So it's Bluetooth, it connects to my phone, it has these flat speakers in it, and first I was worried that I'm a side sleeper, so I was worried that if I was sleeping on my side that it would hurt my ear, but it has not. I have not had any problems with it whatsoever, and it is just amazing. I have this white noise app on my phone, and I put that on, I pull it down over my eyes, I put the white noise on, and I can't hear anything, and it's amazing. And what's even great about it is, in the morning when my alarm goes off, it's on my head and I can hear it and it wakes me up and it's perfect, and then I can just plug it in and it's all charged up for the next night, and I really love it. So I definitely recommend this item. It's inexpensive. You can get it on Amazon. There's a whole bunch of different people who make it, but it's basically the same item with just sometimes a different name on it. Highly recommend you pick one up, especially if you have any issues with noise or light. So noise is not the only thing to consider when picking where you want your cabin to be on a cruise ship. For first-time cruisers, I always recommend that they do not pick a cabin at the front of the ship. It's definitely where the cruise ships are moving up and down the most. It's definitely where you're going to feel the most motion. And if you've never cruised before and you're not sure if you'll be seasick or not, you definitely should not pick a cabin at the front of the ship. Now, I have been on many, many cruises. I have never had an issue whatsoever with seasickness, and I probably still would not pick a cabin at the front of the ship just because I prefer to be in the middle, or actually my favorite place to be on the ship is towards the back. Don't know why, I just like it. Only tend to have less traffic back there as well, so you don't have a lot of noise and stuff outside your cabin. So I think that's just what I prefer. Try to avoid guaranteed cabins categories just because you don't know where they're going to put you. They're going to put you anywhere there's an available cabin. They typically do not assign those cabins to right before the sailing, so therefore you just kind of get what's left over, and it's usually not the best places. The other thing I always recommend people do is avoid upgrades. Now, that may sound like a strange thing, you know, who doesn't want an upgrade? Who doesn't, you know, typically people think an upgrade is going to be a, you know, much better room. However, I have seen countless horror stories where somebody had an issue one way or the other, whether that be with noise or location or just some other type of issue as a result of an upgrade. And what's even worse is they end up paying more money in most cases for that cabin situation that is just not better. Now, I'm going to be sailing on the Adventure of the Seas out of Bayonne, New Jersey in August of 2022, and we're going to be heading to Bermuda. And I actually ended up choosing one of these few solo cabins on that class of ship. So I'm intrigued and a little nervous because these cabins are located in a common area of the ship towards the front near the theater. I'm a little worried about noise and motion, but we'll just see how it goes. Another thing to consider when choosing where your cabin should be on a cruise ship is what I would call an oddball category cabin. So the oddball category cabins, in my opinion, are the Carnival 1A cabin that is more like a bunk bed style cabin. Now, if you've been on a cruise, you know that the beds always convert into two twins or a queen, depending on how you prefer that to be. And on the 1A cabins, that's not the case. You have basically a twin on the floor and then another twin that it comes in and out of the ceiling. It's definitely an oddball cabin, and you should be aware that if you're picking a 1A cabin, somebody is climbing up and down a ladder to get in and out of bed. Definitely not a good situation for some people. And in other oddball categories would be obstructed view or partially obstructed view cabins. Now, whether that be an ocean view cabin where your window has a view of the lifeboats or some other object on the ship that is really kind of blocking your view and limiting what you can see out there. Now, in my opinion, the best example of an oddball cabin category is the neighborhood balconies on Royal Caribbean's Oasis class ships. Now, I get why Royal Caribbean created those neighborhood balconies. It was an opportunity for them to have more balcony category cabins on a ship. And I guess maybe somebody at Royal Caribbean thought it might be interesting to be able to look down on these really amazing neighborhoods that they created on those class ships. In my opinion, they are the worst. Not only are they noisy, but there is zero privacy out on those balconies. And in my experience, I have not seen a lot of people sitting out on their balconies when I've been on an Oasis class ship. And I have definitely seen other people who do not like those cabins either. Whether you're somebody who plans a lot for your vacation or somebody who just packs a bag and goes, in my opinion, you should definitely take some time to think about where the best cabin on that cruise ship is going to be for you. You definitely don't want to learn the hard way that you picked the wrong place on the ship to be. I hope this video has given you a lot of things to think about. There's also so much information available around the internet. And feel free to leave me a comment below and I'll do my best to answer any questions. So I think that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. And if you like this video, don't forget to click that like button. And then don't forget to click the subscribe button. It won't cost you anything. You click it once, you're done. It'll really help us out a lot. And then don't forget to click that notification bell so that you know every time we upload a new video. Thanks again for watching and we'll see you next time.